Welcome back to Gaming in the Basement. This is part 2 of my interview with TimberBrick. Let's get right into it.
You spoke a bit about this before, and could you go a little bit more in depth about your streaming journey?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been watching Twitch over the years. I've looked at it from a distance. There's a bunch of people I follow on YouTube that do games and do recordings, and then you watch them later. And me and my wife watch them all the time, and we enjoy that kind of stuff. And so I've kind of been on the outside looking in for a long time, mainly because I didn't really understand what I needed to do to get into the whole thing. I felt like I needed to do a lot of things to get involved. Like I figured I needed so much for my setup. And I'm not saying that getting set up for gaming isn't complicated at times, but it was a lot simpler than I expected. And so when I finally sat down and kind of wrote out what I needed to get myself set up, I realized how easy it was and decided to kind of jump into it. And so with my wife kind of propelling me forward, giving me that push to just kind of say, forget it, let's just go and start it. And then being able to sit down and just kind of write down what I need, I was able to put together a list and kind of get figured out what I needed and pretty much hit the ground running I'm coming up on about 6 months in my streaming journey.
So, if you had to give a streamer some advice or like a new streamer, what's one tip that you would give them and that you think is really, really important to know?
This is probably something that's said everywhere. So I guess I'll lead with that one. And it's definitely something I agree with is if you aren't having fun, don't do it. Like if you're not having fun making the content and enjoying the people you're hanging out with or enjoying the games you're playing, don't do it. It's it's not it's not worth doing it if you're going to make it a job. Like the whole point of gaming and streaming is that it's somewhere to get away from the stresses and the real world, and you can just kind of relax some. And if you're gaming and streaming and it doesn't happen that way and you're still finding yourself stressed out or on edge because of all this, it's just not worth the extra pain and anguish. Like just do it because you want to do it. Don't do it because you feel like you're going to get some kind of gain out of it.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I think people come in with the wrong intentions and end up disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, is it nice to make money on something like this when you get to a point where you can? Of course it is. No, I'm not going to deny and say that, getting a little money here and there for something that you were going to do anyway is great. It is. But I never walk into a stream expecting that I'm going to get anything out of anybody. When I stream because I'm playing and I get to interact with people. And unfortunately, these days, I don't get to interact with a huge amount of people outside of my house
Yeah.
because we just don't go out a lot anymore. The pandemic kind of screwed up a lot of that stuff. So I don't go out as much as I did because of that year and a half that I was stuck inside, basically.
Yeah.
So streaming is kind of my release to talk to people.
Like, I've been on just online talking to people a lot more, whether through Zoom or I just started using Twitch. So, like, Twitch wasn't really part of my pandemic experience, but I just feel like there's a lot of people out there who are just trying to connect online.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. I can guarantee you that if I get back out to the point where I'm going out as much as I used to, I probably won't be streaming as much. And that's probably going to happen at some point, but it probably will take a little while because I do enjoy the streaming and I enjoy a lot of the people I've met through streaming. So like, I really want to get to know them better. And I do count a lot of people that I've met and had conversations with in stream to be friends. And so I don't want to just abandon them. I
Yeah.
do want to stick by and keep going with them.
Would you ever consider like doing a live stream while you're out and about?
Oh, that's gonna happen. There's an expectation that's actually gonna happen. There's Me and my wife are actually going to be doing our honeymoon this summer, and as part of our honeymoon, we were intending to do YouTube videos about our kind of vacation journey. We're gonna do a whole YouTube series on the prep up to the vacation. We're gonna do YouTube videos of us running around doing a bunch of stuff in town and around the city. And then during all of that, I figured there'll be instances where I'll probably go live. So that's the intent. I have a full intent on doing that for sure.
Yeah, let me know when that drops because that sounds like a really interesting series.
Yeah, we're probably gonna. I actually need to talk to my wife, but I think we're gonna start doing some of the at least the backgrounds filming sooner rather than later, and
Mm.
then we're gonna end up moving into doing the Twitch streaming won't be happening until obviously we go on the vacation, which won't be until July. So
Okay. So you're going on your honeymoon late. Me and my husband still haven't gone on our honeymoon. Do you think that's like a trend?
I think it's kind of two parted. I think that it's more likely these days that couples are going on their honeymoons later than their weddings. One, because a lot of us are not able to afford a wedding and a honeymoon, like one right after the other, not unless we're getting a bunch of money from everybody. And then I also think that there's some expectation that with the pandemic and everything that happened, I think a lot of people are avoiding doing their honeymoons right after their wedding due to making sure they're not sick. So that way they have to cancel their honeymoons. And so I think there's a lot of trends based on that. But I mean, I've been noticing over the decades, over the past decade or two, that people just haven't been taking their honeymoon right after their wedding anyway. And I think it's just a bit of really wanting to plan it out and have a really memorable honeymoon instead of kind of like a quick put together honeymoon.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, even your honeymoon sounds like it's going to be really meaningful. Like you already planned this YouTube series around it. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an exciting time. We're really excited about everything that we've planned. It's a 2-week cruise through the Mediterranean, hitting up a bunch of countries. So we're really excited about it.
Oh, that sounds beautiful. Do you have a favorite stream you like to think back on?
Favorite stream? When I stream, I don't expect anything out of my stream. Like I'm usually just happy that people are in my stream and I'm able to talk to some people. So whenever I end up getting rated, for anybody who doesn't Twitch stream, rating is when another channel ends, they bring their community over to a different person's stream and they kind of add to their viewership. And so whenever I get rated, I'm always shocked. I always love it. I think it's awesome. I think it's really an honor when someone entrusts me with their community. I think it's very, very important to make sure that you're seeing that not just as oh, I've got some more viewers, but you're also seeing that as the person who sent them to me thinks that I'm someone that they'll enjoy. And that's important. That's an important thing to me. So there was a stream, I think it was about a month ago, where I was playing one of my favorite games at the time, No Man's Sky. Still is my favorite game right now. I play it all the damn time, even when I'm off stream. I was playing the game and I was just hanging out and I, 8, 5, 6 viewers, something like that. And I was doing okay. I was pretty happy, but I was getting pretty tired and I decided it was time for me to probably go to bed. And but it was just one thing I really wanted to do. And so I was like, all right, I'll finish this and then I'll go to bed. And right around that time, probably about 5 or 10 minutes after I had kind of made that decision in my head, I got rated by a streamer who had a significant amount of viewers. He came in with I think 50 viewers.
Oh, wow.
And my numbers went obviously straight from like 8 to like 60. I was beside myself. Like I was absolutely shocked. And then right after that, another streamer friend of mine also rated me with like another 50 viewers. Now, not all of them stayed, but like, I was just like floored at how many people had come in. And I just remember being completely flabbergasted and just absolutely floored by the fact that these people entrusted me with their communities. And I ended up continuing streaming for like another 3 or 4 hours just because I was like riding this energy high on this particular night. And I think that was probably one of my favorite streams just because I felt like they really had faith in me as a streamer. And that's a big thing for me is that people really have this mentality of humbleness, but also just like genuine care about what you're doing. Like it's like almost like, you put care into what you're doing and you really appreciate those around you that trust you to keep people entertained.
Most definitely. So when you notice you get like 30, 40, 50, and upwards people in there, does it affect how you're streaming? Do you get nervous?
It's funny. I know a lot of people who probably do get a little more nervous when that happens. I actually don't. I actually tend to ease off a little bit. I tend to get a little looser and a little more chatty when that kind of stuff happens. I'm weird though, so I'm probably in a different category. Because most of my streams are usually in the teens. I don't get a huge amount of people, which is fine. I'm not complaining about it. But for me to get in the 20s and 30s is very, very, very rare. I think I've only had that twice, and one of those was that massive stream that I got dropped on. And so when that happened, it was great because there was a bunch of people talking in chat. And as a streamer, I can imagine you feel similarly when you're streaming, if there's nobody talking in chat, you feel like you're not able, it's really hard to keep the people watching engaged. It's really hard to keep them entertained. And so, because you basically have to come up with talking points in your head while it's all going on. But when the chat is busy and there's a bunch of, messages getting thrown around and people are having conversations, it makes your job as a streamer so much easier to be able to interact.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Because I feel like as Twitch streamers, like our job is to interact. Like we provide video games, but like how many other people are playing the same video game you are? Like
Exactly.
our job is to interact. And if we can't do that, it's hard to come up with content because that's pretty much what our content is.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. It's hard to be expected to keep a conversation going when there's nobody to have a conversation with.
So what are your goals and vision with your Twitch community and your channel?
I mean, I have pretty simple stuff. Like I've mentioned, I'm really just happy whenever people come by and hang out. I don't necessarily have this, aggressive goal to be a big time streamer. I have a great job that I get paid very well at. So I am very happy with where I am in my life. My streaming is more just a supplement to help expand my community, help get to know people, meet people I would have never otherwise met that I may have a connection with. So I think my journey is really just a matter of continuing to help people find an outlet, to help entertain them, to help maybe make a few days people brighter on days that have been rather crappy, and just kind of get to know people and just interact. That's really the whole goal I have. My vision is just to I never really see myself as becoming this massive gamer. Like, as long as I can just have a nice group of people, a fun group of people that I can interact with and that I can enjoy and call friends, I'm good with that.
That sounds like it should be the core of why you stream.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's hard to have all these lofty goals. It's great to have goals, but I think it's hard to do these kinds of high level goals like some people do, because I feel like there's just a lot of room to be let down, because just like with acting or any of these other professions, as a streamer, you have a very slim possibility of being one of the best or being one of the most, highest grossing, because it's a matter of chance, and it's a matter of, do the people that you're trying to connect with, do they connect with you? So I mean, to try to expect like all of these big time goals out of your stream is honorable, but it has a lot of chance to fail. And I don't want to see people be disappointed.
Yeah, I agree. I think one big thing you just said is chance. It's left up to a lot of chance.
Yeah.
You really don't have control over it. I also think the reasons why you do it, if you're doing it like for reasons like you are, like to make friends, to have fun, to like let off some steam and help other people let off some steam, I think it can grow really organically that way. But I think if you're just doing it to make money and be famous, like it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So you answered this question already. As a streamer, what is something you think is very important and a core principle to your streaming philosophy?
Yeah. Biggest importance to me, or the biggest thing that I try to focus on when I'm streaming, is trying to enrich people's lives, make people, you know, you're having a shitty day and you come into my stream and maybe I help make your day a little better. Or, I give you something to laugh about when everything around you seems to be like horrible or serious matters. I am the kind of person that wants to spread joy and laughter. I don't want to spread depression and anxiety. That's not the kind of person I am. So I guess the biggest thing for me the most important thing for me and what's at the core of my streaming is just to make people help give people a little bit of light when there's otherwise darkness all around you.
You stream with a cam. Do you think having a cam for your stream makes a difference, and how so?
Well, I'm a very emotive person. I have a lot of facial expressions and I do a lot of hand gestures and things like that. I'm not Italian, but I do tend to have a lot of that kind of mentality. So the cam for me is kind of important because it allows me to connect with the audience better, I feel. It allows
Mm.
them to really be a part of my stream. I think a lot of times when you're just talking through voice chat, there's still a level of disconnect you can have where you're not really experiencing the game in the same way that the person who's streaming is. When you're watching someone like when you watch someone on TV or in a movie, there's a lot of times when there's things that are unsaid that you pick up on by simply seeing them. And although I am not saying I am an actor by any stretch of the imagination, I think that there are times when you can pick up on stuff just based off of a facial expression or on a reaction that has no verbal cues. So for me, having a cam is actually pretty important.
Have you ever had a facial reaction that was just so involuntary and you wish you hadn't had it?
No, I don't tend to have anything in terms of how I react to things that are regrets. I tend to whatever is I don't watch my streams not because I don't want to, but well, actually, yeah, because I don't want to. I don't like watching myself. It's probably it's probably something a lot of us have problems with. Unless you're a narcissist, you don't like really seeing yourself over and over again. So I don't rewatch my streams, so I can't tell you whether or not there's been something that I've done or said that I regret. So when it's in the moment, I just kind of accept that what is, and then I just move on with it. I do try to be cautious about what I'm saying because I definitely don't want to ostracize or put down anybody without, you know, just involuntarily.
Sometimes you may even think of something to say and it might be misconstrued as something else. You just really have to kind of
So,
have a filter on.
oh yeah. I think there's a big level of you having to just sit there and kind of think about what you're about to say before you say it, just so that you can like analyze it and see if what you're going to say could be a problem.
So, what are your thoughts on the current state of video games?
I think there's a lot of great things happening with them. I think there are a lot of designers, game developers that are doing some awesome things. They are pushing the bounds of technology. They're creating some interesting stories. I think the problem comes from the consumer. I think that there's too many consumers who are buying into the games that we really shouldn't be buying into, or buying into the games that are probably not really helping us overall. I think
Yeah.
that you have games like Assassin's Creed, which at the beginning was this amazing series that gave you this huge input into history and background into worlds that we would have never otherwise thought about, and gave you this fascinating kind of alternate storyline, which was, I thought, beautifully written for the first, second, and even into the third storyline. And then something changed in the game, and I don't know why. And all of a sudden, it started seeming like it went into this mindless, just hack and slash game. And it was kind of upsetting to see it kind of go downhill. And then they started creating these fantastical worlds that seems like it was just off the reservation. And I think that there's too many games that are just trying to appease the hack and slash world, and there's not enough we're going into trying to create memorable and important stories. Because at the end of the day, the games that we remember are the ones that have the meaningful stories. Zelda,
Hmm.
Mass Effect, Halo, even to a point. Halo had a huge hack and slash main campaign. It was beautifully written. Assassin's Creed, I can list any number of games that have come out that have wonderful storylines, but they don't seem to quite do as well in the long term in some cases. And that's upsetting because those games are the ones that we remember.
Do you have an example? Games that you remember that stood up long term?
The ones that will forever stick into my head because they have this, yeah, it's a fantasy world, but it has a really interesting developing story between a young knight and his queen and this love that they share, but this unrequited love because he knows he can't be with her. And there's this kind of, it's almost like a movie-esque romance story, almost like a Romeo and Juliet that without the Capulets and the Montagues. And it's one that every time I see the story, it's always this beautiful story.
How do you feel like this story of The Legend of Zelda has progressed from like when it first came out on those golden NES cartridges to now?
It's become more about the story, I think, these days. If it when I played the original Zelda in the very first Legend of Zelda, it was mainly just an RPG story. It was about this knight saving the princess. Sorry, it was about Link saving Zelda from Ganon, and that's kind of the whole point of the basis. And so it was a great story because it was an RPG and it was like a storyline. But then as you developed, you got into Ocarina of Time, and then you started developing this understanding of why Link is so dedicated to Zelda. It's not just because he's a knight, but also because he kind of loves her. And then you moved into Majora's Mask, and then you had this introduction of this secondary character, which he didn't necessarily love. I don't know for sure, but he at least had strong feelings for. And then you got into the newer games like Breath of the Wild, which I thought Breath of the Wild, at least in my opinion right now, is the pinnacle of the Zelda story because they give Link this immense background. You have all of these different cultures and people within those cultures that have either romantic relationships, long-term friendships, hatreds for him and for what he represents. And it fascinates me every time that Nintendo comes out with a new version of Zelda, how fantastic they do with the storyline.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like I played like the early NES Zelda game and I was so frustrated. I just stopped playing it until Breath of the Wild. People were saying in comments like it's not the same Zelda that it used to
Not even
be.
close.
Yeah, and then people who didn't enjoy the Zelda games, they came to this version and they were like, I never thought I would play a Zelda game, but now, like, things have changed, you know? So I was like, I gotta try it, and I'm glad I did. I think it was, like, life-changing.
There are very few video games that I feel genuine emotion in because of the fact that I still, at the end of the day, remember that they're video games. You get attached to characters and you enjoy characters. But Zelda Breath of the Wild and the story they told in Breath of the Wild, like genuinely brought out sadness, anger, like fear in me playing the game. Like I was genuinely involved in the story, not just in the video game. And that was something that I applaud Nintendo for doing.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty amazing.
I'm just hoping they don't mess it up with the second one.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. Are you looking forward to the second one? Like, what hopes do you have? What fears do you have?
Hey, I really am looking forward to the second one. I think that as long as the creative team that did Breath of the Wild works on the second one, I think they can do a lot of good things with it.
Fingers crossed. So you mentioned games that you have like an emotional connection with, like Breath of the Wild. Are there any other games that kind of evoke that same emotion with you?
You know, I legitimately struggle to think of any games with that level of connection. I definitely have some level of emotional connection with the Assassin's Creed game. I think
Mhm.
there was some good storyline told there, but I don't know that I have quite as deep and as emotional connection as I do with Breath of the Wild. The Witcher series is another good one that does a great job of storytelling that I would say is a solid game for just from a movie perspective, let alone a game perspective. I can't really think of many others. A lot of the others I just kind of take at face value and look at them and go, "Yep, they're video games," and I just move on.
As far as the Witcher series, how engrossed are you in the story? Have you looked at any of the books? Have you seen like the Netflix series?
We have watched the Netflix shows. I really enjoy the Netflix show. I think that Henry Cavill was an amazing cast for that. I'm really sad to see him go for the next series because I think that he really made Geralt what he was because he understood what Geralt was. And so he really helped make the character as effectively similar to books and games as he could. I have not read the books, although I've heard the books are good. They are in my Amazon cart. I do need to get them at some point. I am currently in process of clearing off my bookshelf of all my books right now, and I have quite a few in backlog.
Oh, same here. I keep them in a basket next to my chair, hoping that one day I'll pick one up. It hasn't happened yet. So, do you have any hobbies? Like, what do you do outside of gaming?
So I do watch a lot of TV and movies. Where me and my wife are currently making our way through the Star Trek universe. My wife had never watched any, so we
Oh, really?
finished The Next Generation and we finished the original series. Now we're moving into DS9 and we're really enjoying DS9. So we do watch a lot of movies. We've done a Disney movie marathon as well, which all of the animated movies ever that Disney has ever made, we watched. I enjoy reading. Legos, obviously, as we've mentioned, are one of my big hobbies. I also do swing dancing, Lindy Hop. I've been doing that for 15 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 15 years. And so I do that. I haven't done it a lot lately because the pandemic kind of screwed that up, but I have been meaning to go back and try to do that again.
I tried swing dancing once. It is hard. So, if you had to rate the Star Treks, like the top three, what would they be?
For me, I definitely think that Next Generation is first on the list for me. Now, I'm not going to include any of the new stuff because I haven't watched the new stuff. Like I haven't watched Picard or Strange New World, and I haven't even watched what was the other one before?
Was it Discovery?
Maybe it was Discovery. Yeah. I haven't watched any of those, so I have to catch up on those. So I'm literally looking at anything basically pre-2000 is the only stuff I've kind of got right
Okay.
now. I definitely think that Next Generation is top of the list. It's Patrick Stewart, you just can't beat him.
You can't.
But honestly, I was gonna put the original series as 2 because even as campy as it is, I thought the stories were better. But honestly, I'm kind of thinking that I might have to slide DS9 up in the number 2 spot. I really enjoy Commander Sisko. I think in a lot of ways he's even better than Picard
Wait, whoa.
because
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. I'm just kidding.
I know, I know, no, I know that is a triggering statement, but Sisko has this air about him of calmness, but also of tolerance and forcefulness and like authoritativeness. Like he's got this all around good nature. And I love his development through DS9 and how he's gone from this strict like letter of the law person to he's evolved into this understanding of everything that he's involved in and the people that he works with. And it's I've really enjoyed seeing his evolution more so than Picard because Picard, sorry, at the end of the evolved from episode 1 to the final. He was the same person through the whole show.
That's very true. No, I agree with that.
And I think it's important for a leader to evolve. And so I think that seeing Cisco evolve has made me really happy.
Yeah, I think with Deep Space Nine, just even the crew was a little bit more like diverse. You had like more like aliens and stuff.
Oh yeah, seeing Quark is part of the basically part of the crew, even though he's not, has always been funny to see.
Yeah.
But you have Kira in the Pajoran, who has softened quite a bit since her beginning because she's realizing she's not in the war anymore. And then, even the Doctor he always makes me laugh because he's basically the Riker of the show, but not because he's also very timid in a lot of ways.
What was your third pick?
I'm gonna have to go the original series for number 3.
Okay.
There's something about the original that just is too good. I mean, George Takei, William Shatner, and the whole crew, Scotty and Bones and a horror, like they're just too good. Like you can't beat them. Horrible, horrible graphics, horrible acting,
What's this?
fantastic storylines.
Yeah, the special effects were lacking, but yeah, the storylines were interesting and different for the time and fun.
Yeah, and that's I think what puts it toward the top for me is the fact that they were really we look at those shows now and they look at them and say, "Oh, those don't feel very controversial," but you have to remember when that came out. And in the 60s, that was some controversial shit.
I think that's why when Next Generation came out, people were afraid that it wasn't going to do the first one justice just because of the time when that came out. There was so much going on around it. It has all
Yeah.
this like history attached with it that next generation doesn't have. But also at the same time, I don't know. I mean, I like next generation because that's what I grew up with.
Totally. Totally understand that.
So you've been embarking on an inspirational weight loss journey. So during your weight loss journey, what's the most surprising thing that you've discovered so far?
I don't know if I'd call it inspirational, but I appreciate your kindness in calling it inspirational.
Inspirational because I mean, I've been talking to you about like weight loss stuff and like when I don't want to go, I just think about you and how you started on this journey and you're sticking with it. And it's just like if you can do it, I can do it. So it's inspired me to stick with my workouts.
Oh, that's
I don't
nice
think
to hear.
yeah, so you can't say that.
Yeah, well, I guess I can't say it anyway because of the fact that I don't govern what inspires other people. So I guess as that's kind of I can't avoid it either way. For me, the thing that's kind of, I guess I'll say, surprised me the most has been the fact that I was able to pick it back up as easily as I could. Because there was a time when I was more in shape. And then, as anyone can tell you, time takes its toll, and you lack, some people, a lot of people over time just lack the commitment to keep going. And so, because you can only eat so many cups of broccoli and boneless, skinless chicken over your lifetime. And
Right.
so, you just kind of jump off the wagon, not unintentionally, just because you don't want to live eating the same old stuff. And so I slowly started gaining weight back, and I got to a point where I just didn't want to be there anymore. And I was surprised toward the beginning. I was obviously, you start working out and your body is just naturally tired, and because your body's like, oh my God, I haven't done this in so long. I don't want to do this anymore. And so what I was really surprised quickly, I was able to jump back into the workout routine and really get into really pushing myself and being able to give myself that push to do it. It's been very interesting watching how quickly it can turn from, "Oh god, I don't wanna do this," into, "Oh my god, I can't believe I didn't do this."
Yeah. How long did it take you to get to that point?
2 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. So not
And,
not very long. Yeah. Do you have any tips or tricks or encouragement for those who may be starting their weight loss journey?
it may sound cliche and it may sound kind of hammy, but just don't give up. Like, keep pushing. It does get easier. It really does. It's not a joke. It If you're trying to take a few pounds off, you know, you only pretty much have to deal with that first hurdle, but understand that if you have a lot of weight to get off and you really want to do it, you really have to have the drive to do it. And if you don't, you're not going to succeed. And I don't want to sound like negative, but you really have to have that push. If you don't have that push to continuously improve yourself and to make the changes that you need to get those losses, major losses, then it's not going to turn out positive for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Not to
for
be a
me,
negative Nancy, but still.
you have to take your time. You have to be okay with not losing a whole ton of weight at once and just being
Yeah.
consistent. You got to
Yeah.
build up the habits a little bit at a time. So that's it, because you can't do it all at once.
Yeah, it's not gonna come fast. It
Yeah.
takes a while. The more you have to lose, the longer it takes, and you just gotta be accepting of that.
All right. So thank you so much for being here with me today. I have one more question for you. It's your surprise
Of
question.
course.
So if you could change the ending of one video game, what would it be and how would you change it?
To one video game? That's gonna take me a minute. I have to think of what games I've played that I've, like, raged at the end of, like, that I've looked at and gone, "Are you fucking kidding me right now?"
I mean, I've certainly read books like that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, there's plenty of books that have that mentality, but for the most part, it's like video games, I feel like in the moment I have the continuation anger where you can tell they're gonna, like, continue it in another game, and you're like, "God damn it!" And, like, you don't wanna see that happen that way, but I can't really think of any games that I've played that I've been angry at the ending,
Yeah.
in the sense of I thought they could have done it better,
Yeah.
because I'm not a game developer. I don't know what they could have done differently.
Yeah. So is it the game developers that usually tell the story, or does somebody write it?
I mean, it's a little bit of both. I mean, the way that the game designers draw the characters and create the characters, I think, plays a big role in how you feel about the characters. But obviously, there is probably an external writer that's writing the game script. So, I mean, it's a little bit of both, I think.
Yeah.
Just like with visual effects in movies, visual effects can make a good story great and can make a bad story good just by camera angles and things like that,
If they make you feel like you're there and it's more interactive and you have like a personal connection to it.
for sure.
All right. So thank you so much for your time and thanks for being with us. Could you list out your socials just so we know where to find you?
Yeah, you can always find me on Twitch. TimberBrick is pretty straightforward. Timber like the wood, and then brick like the building material. And then my Instagram is the same _86. That's right, 80s babies. And then my YouTube is same name, TimberBrick. I think it's at TimberBrick on the end. And then that's pretty much I've tried to create all my socials to be the same for everything.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a good idea. It makes you easier to find.
I really hope you enjoyed this interview. Get to know TimberBrick on his Twitch channel, and don't forget to follow. My music was by DJ Kern. She's on SoundCloud. Go check her out. This is the end of season 1, and I can't express my gratitude. So much work and love went into this podcast, and I didn't know if people would listen. But you did listen, and you shared, and we all grew together. And for that, I thank you so much. I want to give a very special thanks to all the streamers that came out this season to share their stories with us. Savior 420, Magic Ninja Robot, Smokeahanas, Devil Billy Kazama, Calith 0467, Tsaw, and TimberBrick. Since starting this podcast, I've met more streamers and heard more stories that I would love to share with the rest of you. In season 2, we're going to be focusing on women streamers, something that was seriously lacking in this season. In season 3, we'll be talking to groups of friends that have some history of gaming together and ended up streaming together. Season 4 will be highlighting black streamers. And in season 5, we'll be revisiting some of the streamers that we've interviewed. There are some fantastic streamers who don't fit into any of these categories, and for them, there's a podcast for that. I'll be rolling out After Hours in the basement. We'll still talk gaming and streaming, but it's more freeform with no themes. After Hours will be on the same channel. Next week, there's one more surprise podcast before retiring the season. This special is titled The Homies. The homies are people I started my streaming journey with. We got a chance to sit down and talk. And sometimes the conversations went off on random tangents, but they're my homies and they're awesome. I hope you get a chance to listen and see why I'm honored to call them such. Thank you guys again for an incredible season. I never believed that I would have so many people listening. Just a podcast about gaming and being willing to check out some new and awesome streamers. They all have amazing communities and hopefully now you're a part of them. Thank you. And I know this is so many thank yous, but I'm very grateful. And, thanks for coming into my Twitch streams and for checking out all these amazing people I've gotten to interview. I just can't wait to see where they're headed. And I'm very excited to revisit them again. Again, thank you guys so much for your overwhelming love and support. And thank you for gaming.
I feel like the hardest part of working out is just getting to the gym. And my gym's in my garage, so I really don't have an excuse. But just the mental games I go through to like convince myself not to do it, and it's like fighting myself to go.
Yeah, I get that. I'm on a schedule right now where I'm working out every day. And so when you work out on that kind of a rigorous schedule, it makes it a little more easy to work out because of the fact that your brain turns into this scheduling mode where it just knows, okay, at this time I work out and that's it. And so it does make it easier if you can set that kind of schedule, because your brain is very much a schedule based organ. So if you have it in your head, I'm going to do this from this to this, it just knows to do it. Because now I go to my trainer every day. Well, not every day, every other day at like 4:00. And now if I'm not going to the trainer at 4:00, my brain's like, what? No, what? No, we have to do this. This is part of our schedule. So it's interesting to see how ingrained that becomes